So let's start our talk on the instructional needs in ag mechanics. And today I'm going to do my presentation on my new position at Ware County High School. Even though that will be a new school system for me, and I'll be moving from Berrien County, I wanted to do it in Ware County instead of Berrien for the reason that I want to get to know my community a little bit better. So I actually live in Ware County, so I have known the local businesses. I've been around the town and know kind of what to expect in the way of ag mechanics and what I need to prepare my students for whenever they graduate and become part of the workforce. So looking at this and going through the different questions, I put together what I think is important and specific to Ware County. So let's get into the first question that we have here. So from my perspective, who are the major players in Ware County? Well, some of the ones that I've identified is Airgas, a local welding and metal supplier for Ware County. Huey's Welding, which is a welding shop that is specific to building trailers and trailer components for heavy-duty trailers in the community. Scott's Built Home, which is Scott Built Homes, which is a mobile home company. Clayton Homes, which is another mobile home company. Varnador Electric, which is a larger commercial electrical wiring company that resides here in Ware County, along with private electricians that I've gotten to know from teaching several FFA members and getting to know their parents. We have different contractors here that my shop or my classes will possibly feed and benefit, as well as several or multiple machine shops that we have that do a lot of business with repairing, building, manufacturing, fabricating different components for any type of situation. And last but not least, because we are a large forestry industry, or we have a large forestry industry in South Georgia, is our timber companies. You wouldn't necessarily think of them needing, or you wouldn't think of ag mechanics at the forefront, but there's a lot of repairs and fabrication that is needed to keep the log trucks and those trailers on the road, as well as keeping the equipment running. So that is why I included them in here on the major players in local community. And so as we go through this, I'm going to talk about why it's important for me to address their workforce needs. Because ultimately, when we're looking at these classes, that's what we're here for, is to provide a workforce for our local businesses in the community. And so that is one thing I do want to work on in my master's program. So the next piece is talking about the deficits that are employers that I just listed, as well as the other ones that I haven't listed. What are the definite deficits that they are encountering? So some of the common deficits that I've seen and have heard in the community is, for the first one, personal responsibility. Students are no longer or not as much interested in being a responsible person, in being a dependable person. And so we don't see a whole bunch of personal investment of students and laborers into their positions and into the places where they work. So that's why I include that one in there. Punctuality, that kind of goes along with the first one as far as not showing up to work on time. I'm always telling my students in the classroom that if you want to be successful in today's workforce and to climb the ladder, you really just need to have personal responsibility and be able to show up on time, as well as having a work ethic, someone who has a drive and motivation to get work done. The fourth one is, and this is one that I've heard from a bunch of employers, especially in ag mechanics, because they deal with a lot of safety risk in their industry, is passing a drug test. That's a bunch of the complaints that we have from employers, is that they can't keep an employee because they can't pass a drug test. So that's another deficit that that we're looking at, and that one can be thrown in again with personal responsibility. And then getting to a little bit more of the skills, from what I've seen in my shop and in my classroom, is reading a tape measure. I took that one for granted because having 10 plus, or really 15 to 20 plus years of experience using one, I've taken that for granted. And so the amount of students who don't know how to use a tape measure is pretty high. And some other deficits is knowing how to continue to develop themselves and market themselves in the job place and the workforce. And then having a basic understanding of the different processes in ag mechanics, whether it be using an oxyacetylene torch, knowing the proper way to set up the machine for a specific type of process, as well as going into framing and construction work in ag mechanics. Knowing those basic understandings of that process is a big deal. And then managerial ability. I think we are not doing a good job right now with preparing our students to be managers in the workplace. And so that's one thing that I want to look at in my master's program. And that's what I'm currently working on towards my thesis. Or not thesis, but my capstone project. So, third question. Considering my role as an agent of change in the local community, what needs could be addressed within my program? And so me looking at that is making sure that I cover some of the basic processes in my class. I can't cover everything, but I can give them a basic foundation to allow them to have a stepping stone from which they can move in the right direction. So reading a tape measure, that is important in most every part of ag mechanics, or being able to read some kind of form of measurement and do it proficiently and with efficient and with accuracy. So just knowing those basic skills will help them kind of achieve some higher abilities within their careers at local businesses. And so that's one thing that I've tried to look at. I've also tried to tailor my ag mechanics class to use current equipment, current methods of construction, ag mechanics, because one thing that I see in a bunch of ag mechanics classes is old and outdated equipment. We should not be focusing on teaching a student how to use a handsaw. Rather, we should be teaching them how to properly use a table saw, portable miter saw, or any of these power equipment you're going to find on a job site. I have not seen a person or a worker at any work site use a handsaw in I don't know how long. So why we are still using this equipment, I do not know. So I try to focus on the current technologies and techniques that employers in our community are using. So, for our fourth question, in my role as an ag teacher, I need to consider my local employers' needs and my students' interests. How do I believe my current ag mechanics curriculum align with those factors? So what I do in my role as an ag teacher, I teach both high level and low level students in the same classroom. And so one goal that I have is that with those higher level students that already have a basic understanding of those simple processes in ag mechanics, is to help them develop their skills to become managers. So allowing them to take over creating bill of materials for projects we go over, as well as calling in materials, getting on the phone, making those purchases and orders, as well as pricing projects that we do. So giving them a little bit more of a control and investment into our ag mechanics program, and helping them open their eyes to the world of managerial abilities. So that's what I try to do to again fill those needs in the community. Is we don't have employees in the workforce that have those abilities and can do that well. So that's one thing that I want to focus on as a capstone project. And so, assuming that funds are not a barrier, what new resources do you think, or do I think I would need to better address those local needs? Well, in my case, this would be education for me as a educator. I have everything in that shop that I need to teach those students, but a lot of times I do not have the knowledge to effectively teach them, or I do not know what local employers and local industry use in their shops and in their businesses, and how they have their workers or what tasks their workers complete. And so what I would love to have to be able to better address those needs is education for myself. And I feel like the best way to do that is through externships. The ability to go out to our local communities or businesses and actually go through their training programs or see the processes that they use in their business. And so I feel like having that ability would really help my program and help me bridge the gap between employers and employees.